on the Pittsburgh Hockey Now platforms. Hi, I'm Dan Kingerski. Kind of a bare bones deal today. For some reason, they changed up the software, and I can't tell who's live. I didn't see the show scheduled, despite it being scheduled on my dashboard. So I apologize in advance if a lot of you are indeed missing this. So here's what we're going to discuss on said program today. We're going to talk about the Penguins' playoff charge. Now, I think it was kind of obvious that they were floundering. A week ago, they were in rough shape. Home games against Colorado, Carolina, Dallas, they really kind of got knocked off the map. They were outscored, 6-3 against Dallas. And what was Colorado's score? 7-2 or 7-1, whatever it was. Carolina gets them 5-1. It really looked to me very much like the Penguins' punching power had sort of waned. They were no longer able to keep punching above their weight. And that's just, I don't know how else to really describe it other than it looked like, the clock had struck midnight on Cinderella. Maybe they'd make the playoffs, maybe they wouldn't, but that was also, it seemed, especially after that road trip where they treaded water without Crosby and Malkin, that was in some ways impressive, but also a reality of exactly where they were. And they come home, they get Crosby and Malkin back, and they were still treading water. So it was kind of almost dependent upon, let me make sure this sounds good. It was dependent upon what the other teams did. If Columbus kept winning, the Penguins were out. If the Islanders were able to maintain, and if Boston and Ottawa were able to catch them, it wasn't going to go well for the Penguins. They get a couple of games against their closest pursuers, and they just hammer them. They shredded the Islanders. Tactically, emotionally, they landed a good right hand. And I think they ended the Detroit Red Wings season on Tuesday. Back-to-back games, the Penguins really just eviscerated their competition. So my thinking goes from, let's see if they can squeak in, all of a sudden to, they might be the best of the mushy middle. They might just be a hair above that mushy middle. Right now, their magic number is down to 11. In reality, it's 10, but because Ottawa could still surpass them, and Ottawa has more regulation wins, we have to keep it at 11. But the reality, like the real magic number, because, of the way the hockey standings go, the real magic number is, in fact, 10 points, unless everybody wins out, which obviously isn't going to happen. 10 points, 7 games to go. 2 against Florida this coming weekend, 2 against the Capitals. St. Louis, they'll have the U-Hauls packed. It'll be their fan appreciation day, the last game of the season. So stupid that the NHL schedule has the Penguins ending their season in St. Louis when it could have so gloriously ended with 2 Crosby-Ovechkin matchups. The last of the Mohicans, the last battles of Crosby and Ovechkin. Could have been it. But no. We have to go to St. Louis as well. And, of course, tomorrow morning, Thursday, I'm going to fly to Tampa. Doing all 82, baby. Although I might blow off St. Louis if the Penguins have clinched by then. Save the money for the playoffs. That's kind of how we're going. So here's how the live chat works. And I will get as much into the X's and O's of the Penguins' charge as you want me to. I'll share as much inside information as I've got. I have actually turned down some information lately. No, that's not an April Fool's joke. I mean, you know what? You can tell me, but I think I'd rather not, because then I'd have to write about it, and there are some things that we're both better off finding out in the moment. No, I can't tell you what it was. It was nothing that would, nothing to do with on ice stuff, and so we're just going to leave it at that. And I was like, I don't want to know. So, Pogue 4N 3-1 gets us started today. 13-4 total against the last two teams with a 90% chance to make it. Who's your guess of where we place in the bracket and who we are against in the first round? Boy, Pogue, you gotta clean that up for me. So I have to read this live. I think at this point, second place is a realistic possibility, which, by the way, very well might put a home game during the NFL draft. I can't imagine the carnage and the chaos of that day in Pittsburgh. I don't want to. I think y'all know I live on the north side, so I'm already at ground zero for 700,000 football weirdos storming my neighborhood. People are literally over, the block over here. Nice house, don't get me wrong. It's not like it's a palatial estate. It's, one of the row houses here in the Mexican war streets. They are getting $20,000 to rent out their house for the draft. $20,000. Like, damn, why didn't, for a few thousand, I'll vacate the premises, lock up my stuff. Hell, for a few more thousand, I won't lock up my stuff. I just can't imagine the draft and a Penguins playoff game. That's going to be brutal if it happens. I do think second place is realistic. Third place, maybe if the Islanders get hot in the last few games, or if Columbus gets hot and leapfrogs the Islanders. I think listen, for me, the best two things that could happen, very best, Columbus takes third place or second, and there's a Penguins-Columbus series. Oh, would Dan love that, because it's such an easy drive. I could even, if the Penguins are going to take a day off and not practice, come home. That would be lovely. Buffalo, same deal. If the Penguins were to fall to a wild card and have to face the Buffalo Sabres in the Atlantic, I'm okay with that as well. I would even be okay with a Philadelphia series. What I don't want, oh, please don't. I don't want a series in Montreal, because that you just don't get from here to there easily, especially spur of the moment. It's like a 9.5-hour drive when all things are considered. Hotel prices will be ridiculous. I don't want a Raleigh series because you can't go back and forth easily, and there's no hotels. I also don't want, I love New York. I hate Long Island. I love the people. I hate Long Island. The arena is lovely. The fans, lovely. Well, they're not lovely, but they're fun. They're earnest. They've earned their cynicism and their passion. I like Islanders fans. But good God, no matter where you are at least half an hour from that arena, no matter where you are. One train per hour back and forth to the arena. That's it. And on, what day is today? Wednesday, so it would have been Monday. Monday, there was no trains during the day to the arena and back. They were working on the track, so they were skipping the stop. Please, no Long Island series, please. Hockey gods, I beg of you. Let's go to Diane. You remembered. Yes, I appreciate your comments on the post-game videos as well. Let's go to Big Joe. Hey, Dan, your thoughts? I thought Novak looked a little better, but I'm not a fan of him ever with Kindle. If they want Malkin with Kindle, I'd like Mantha there or Rust. Tommy Novak's game has disappeared at the worst possible time, both for the team and for him. He made a believer of me. People were kind of rewriting history there for a minute that Novak was great the whole time, and us media people were just beating him up. And I'm like, well, no. Because the first 6 weeks, 8 weeks of the season, into November, it wasn't going well for Novak. But then he gained traction. I think Dan Muse stuck with him, boosted his confidence. Things began to work. But the criticism on Novak coming from Toronto was that he couldn't play against the higher competition and that he couldn't play the tougher game. Unfortunately, Novak's slump is coinciding with playing against tougher competition and these tighter, more physical games as we come down the stretch. If you ask me right now, I still don't know Tommy Novak as a player because I thought I did. A very complete two-way game, good puck disher, really smart. But the way he's played over the last few weeks, now I'm wondering if where the middle is, where the reality is. I don't know. I think he was much better Tuesday night against Detroit. Much, much better against Detroit. Was it Malkin? Was it, playing with Malkin? Somebody else. Vince Communal. You see on Pittsburgh Hockey Now and the podcast and stuff. Vince is firmly in that camp that Malkin and Novak have a little something, and Malkin picks Novak's game up, and Novak can kind of pick Malkin's game up a little bit. I suppose that's where I'm going to kind of leave that answer because it's still an unknown. No, I think you're right, Big Joe, that Kindle and Novak, I'm not sure that I would go there. Pog is back. Thanks for a great streak of coverage. Yeah, I'm proud of it. I guess I shouldn't hide from it. I shouldn't be too humble or modest about the real stuff. And as of Tuesday night, I have covered 229 consecutive games. And believe me, it's not as easy as it is for the players to show up for these games when you've got connecting flights and 5 a.m. flights and you drive all night back from Long Island to get home for the next day's game. It's taken a little bit of a toll on me, but thank you for noticing. Doing my best here. Audio and video is great. That is good. Well, the video, I should do this no picture. See here, lead singer. Pens are doing great. Mantha is really doing great. 30 goals. Rax is going strong. I want to repeat 2017, says PA lead singer. Temper your expectations, all right? Maybe be happy with a playoff appearance. Let the players worry about expectations beyond that. Because any series the Penguins play in round one, let me fix my hair. Any series the Penguins play in round one will both be winnable. Siri is chiming in. Any series the Penguins play will both... I found this on the web. Good afternoon. Oh, when I said series, the iPhone heard Siri. I get it now. As I was trying to say, any series the Penguins play will both be winnable and losable. Very losable, especially if they slip to a wild card spot. Especially no, no. I guess it basically it will be Columbus or the Islanders at this point, unless the Flyers shrug off last night's loss and go, and surpass them both. I think the Flyers series would be the only one in which the Penguins are heavily favored. I think they would be slightly favored over Columbus and an absolute coin toss against the Islanders. Flower guy said, I saw an article you wrote about Billy Tibbetts, and he's known to have a bit of personality. Nice way to put it, yeah. Do you have any stories of him? Yeah. In fact, Vince was a rookie reporter, or a young reporter, like first or second year, and I was a rookie in that Penguins room when they signed Billy Tibbetts. Now, bear in mind, back in 2001, there was no social media. There were no smartphones. And so the news of Tibbetts' past was kind of muted. You knew he had some trouble. You knew there was a drinking party. He was 17, she was 15. You knew he was like shooting at a cop with a BB gun. You're like, what is this idiot doing? And you knew he served time. But you didn't necessarily know the extent. There wasn't 1,000 citizen reporters digging into everything and so on and so forth. So we were not necessarily prepared. Tibbetts used to practice. Tibbetts' practice pants. They used to practice down off of 79 in Washington or Cannonsburg. What's the whatever that place is called? The golf course, and they used to practice there. And Tibbetts' practice pants were like shredded. They were ripped. Like you could see his thighs in practice. They were barely hanging on. His practice pants were worse than Sidney Crosby's jockstrap. If you've never seen pictures of Sidney Crosby's jockstrap, I know that sounds weird to say. Go look it up. The point is, Sid's athletic supporter is stitched together after 30 years. It's hanging by a thread. Pun intended. And Tibbetts' pants weren't even hanging by a thread. They were belted at the top, and that was about it. But boy, could he skate. He was a unique sort of guy in that you'd ask him, in the little media scrums, a question. You weren't sure where he was going to start with the answer and where it was going to end up. He was kind of like Vasily Ponomarev in that way, where by the end of the answer, you're like, wait, what are we talking about again? And in the locker room, Tibbetts was an intense guy, really intense. He kind of had a stare. And I remembered it. I didn't know that anybody else realized it or remembered it. So when obviously you saw that Tibbetts, he was arrested at that Red Roof Inn in Wilkes-Barre, where I've stayed. I was told not to stay there. Clean room. I was like, what's the worst? And they're like, no. That's where you go in Wilkes-Barre if you're up to no good. Don't stay at that one. Tibbetts would just kind of stare at you in the locker room, and it was not always comfortable. He's a different duck, to use your term, polite or nice way to put it. Marissa says, why Stu over Silovs? Like two different games, but so your favorite is Skinner. Well, I didn't get a chance. I fell asleep this morning. I needed some sleep. After yesterday of getting like an hour here and an hour there, I really needed, a little bit more sleep last night. So I did the daily. By the way, check out the Dan's Daily. There's a little nugget that you might like about the Penguins rebuild. Skinner has, largely speaking, outplayed Silovs. The numbers are really similar, which is it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny how one goalie can have an .890 save percentage, and people are like, "Ooh, he's not playing well." Another goalie can have an .890 save percentage. People are like, "That guy's giving us a chance to win." And you're like, "What's the difference?" The difference is part ethereal, Marissa. There's just when goalies play, like certain goalies have a personality that transfers to the team. Marc-Andre Fleury was that way. Actually, Matt Murray was very much like that for the Penguins. His very stoic, intense personality transferred to the team. His calm, sort of icy, when they needed it, really transferred. Skinner's personality, in a good way, transfers to the Penguins. And despite the similar numbers with Silovs, he's outplaying them. He's outplaying Silovs. So I look at the saves Skinner made last night. The pad save on DeBrincat, the glove save on Lucas Raymond. He actually made a few good glove saves. He had the mitt working last night. Silovs has a unique game. By that, I mean Silovs makes these great saves down low, but he gives up these long goals that sort of deflate the team. And he really has to, he's only 24. That's Silovs' saving grace. If he were 27, 28, this would be a different conversation. But because he's 24, actually a rookie, by the way, still a rookie, he has to work on those long-range goals that seem to bedevil him. I understand there are fans of both. I never understood why Penguins fans have to choose one or the other. It was Malkin or Crosby. It was Gonchar or Letang. It was, it's always one or the other for the Penguins fan base rather than both. I would recommend both in this case, though I do think it is, at this point, we are going to see Stuart Skinner start game one, barring something dramatic like an injury or a late season slump. We're going to see Stu in game one. Stu is a glue guy in the room. He just has a presence. Did you see Ryan Shea's comments last night? Let me pull it up here on the Blue Bird of Misery. Let me see if I can get to it quickly. Yep, there it is. Okay, so I'm going to share the screen here. If you didn't read the report card, well, shame on you for 6 weeks. If you didn't see me on Twitter last night, or X, shame on you for 6 weeks. So there it is. Let me see if I can... There's the quote. I think Skinner's just super calm. He's a great guy. He's honestly one of the best guys I've played with, Ryan Shea said. I love when Shea talks. No chill, no varnish. He just says it. And obviously, in Edmonton, you kind of get dragged through the mud like he did. He comes here, you could just see his smile rejuvenate. And we're playing our hearts out in front of both goaltenders. Hopefully, they can feel it when they're in the crease. I think that quote tells you why Stuart Skinner would be in game one. Steve Nash says Skinner has a Fleury-like presence. He's a great goaltending partner. They have to keep him from Yurashov, right? No offense to Silovs. Steve, I don't know if you saw me on The Fan. It's been a few weeks ago now. I was on with Starkey and Pompiani. And Joe got into that very topic because it was actually before the trade deadline. So I guess it's almost a month ago now. And I brought up that very point. As a goaltending partner, Stuart Skinner would be a much better partner for Murashov. Not because Silovs would be bad, but Silovs is very much trying to establish himself as a number one NHL goaltender. He needs the net. He wants the net. He's not going to be a guy who shrugs his shoulders when he doesn't get a start or 3 and realizes he's a 30-game backup. I don't think Silovs is going to thrive in that kind of situation. I don't think he's going to be happy in that sort of situation. Whereas Skinner might not be happy about it. But his, being a bit older, having been through hell as he's been, and when you get dragged in your hometown, I mean, come on. Is there anything worse than that where your family, your friends, your entire life live when you're getting beat up by the fans in front of all those? I can't imagine how frustrating that must have been. Skinner is just comfortable in his own skin. So if he's a 30, 35 game guy, I think he would be mature, and I think he would be almost as invested in Murashov's success as Andy Chiodo and the team. So yes, Steve, I think you're right. Now the book says you let Skinner walk and you keep Murashov. If I'm Kyle Dubas, if it's possible to keep Skinner, I mean, look, Skinner might say, okay, I want to be paid like at least a platoon goalie, not a backup. I want I want more than 3 years. I want 4 and 5 years, and I want $4 and $5 or more $million. Then it gets dicey. But if Skinner will play ball, I think Dubas has to play ball there. Let's go to Corby here. I really wonder what happens with Soderblom when Lizotte comes back. He was very noticeable the last few. Arguably their most consistent player last night. What do you think happens, Dan? Novak out? It's actually a really good question that I had not pondered. I think we're still a little bit away from Lizotte coming back, are we not? What happens? Boy, Corby, you have stumped me, my friend. How do you keep Soderblom in the lineup? When Lizotte comes back, see, the thing with Soderblom, he doesn't kill penalties. So you can't take Achari and Dewar out for him. Dan Muse seems to very much like Tommy Novak. Boy, I think I'm with you that pending the current situation, the situation of the moment when Lizotte does come back, do you put Soderblom on that third line with Ben Kindle? Oh my. I kind of like that idea. Don't you? Imagine Soderblom, Kindle, and Avery Hayes. That's not the worst thing in the world now, is it? I suppose I'd give that a shot. Otherwise, Soderblom has to come out of the lineup. Let's go back to Pogue here. Only valid part, I guess we're talking about Skinner. Only valid part of that I see is the positivity and the save that looked the exact same as... All right, you guys are talking about something else here. J-Herb, can you predict the lines when fully healthy? Yes, I can. Diane, I've been pleased with the aggressive play of the team right now. They look good. Go to Brian Getz. Are you concerned about the damage Penguins defensemen may sustain in a playoff series, given that neither goaltender is particularly adept at handling the puck as it pertains to aiding the breakout? No. I think if that were a problem, you would have seen it by now. Sure, it'd be nice if Skinner or Silovs were good with the paddle and could help beat the Carolina forecheck. But really, the Carolina forecheck is the only one that is suffocating to the point that the Penguins just can't easily beat it with a defenseman coming back, and they've done it all season. I don't see why. Yeah, the playoffs aren't going to change that aspect. What the Penguins really have to focus in on with their defensemen and the forwards working together and the breakouts, and Ryan Shea alluded to this last night too, was how well they've worked together. When they don't work together, that's when things go off the rails for the Penguins. They have been able to get to the second level against Carolina. Once you get past that forecheck, and Carolina's sending 3, right at you, once you get to that next level, now Carolina is chasing. That's what we've seen teams be able to do to them in the second round. The Eastern Conference Final is get to that next level. And a little birdie or two has told me multiple times that they would love to play Carolina in the playoffs. Take it for what you will. Joey Hale. Is that what it says? Joey Hall, Joey Hale. Hi, Dan. What happens with Soderblom? Oh, when Lizzo comes back. Joey says put Soderblom with Kindle and Scratch Novak. Yeah, I guess I've gotten to that one. Scratch Novak is a joke. I can't tell if you're supporting the argument or mocking it. Let's go to Braden Miller here. Hi, Dan. Hi, Braden. If the roster ever gets fully healthy, who would you wish to see be the Penguins' fourth line? Lazat's PK prowess has been missed. Yes, it has, but Elmer Glue Guy... I get it. Elmer's glue. Elmer Glue Guy Soderblom has been very impressive lately. Yes. As I sit here, I cannot imagine a scenario by which the Penguins want Soderblom out of the lineup. Understand that Dan Muse moved Novak to the wing last night. Now, Brian Rust coming out jumbled the lines, and that was short-lived, but Muse was kind of prepared to drop Novak in the lineup and move him to wing to take some pressure off of him. That's telling you that Muse also saw the struggles. So I don't think it would be very good for Novak's confidence, but you're trying to win games. And I think Soderblom on the wall, you want him on the wall. You need him on the wall. Deep down in places you don't talk about at dinner parties. Anyway. Yeah, you want Soderblom in there. Rodan, that's what I'm going to call you. Rodan Hugh, or R. Donahue, but we're going to call you Rodan. What does Girard do? Well, he kind of plays defense for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I was hoping for some offense. He hasn't really impressed offensively. He also hasn't shown me much defensively. We were told that we would love his game. Letang effect. Obviously, I was very critical of that Letang-Girard pairing. I think Dan Muse got tired of me asking about it, quite frankly. He kind of gave me a little bit of a short answer, first of the season, when we were up in Ottawa. He was still very kind about it, but he kind of gave me a little bit of well, as I've said before, but to me, the situation kept changing. Like, they went from really bad, oh, okay, there's light, back to bad, back to light. And so, as things changed, I would ask, only because I was very interested. I think that is a central figure or a central story upon which the Penguins' failure or success for the next 7 games and a playoff run will have a great deal to do with how those two play together. I think over the last 3 to 4 games, and I talked with Girard yesterday morning. No, it would have been up in Long Island. So that was Monday morning. Honest to God. Did you see Stuart Skinner last night not know what day of the week it was in his media scrum? I don't know either. Not a clue what day of the week it is. I knew today was Wednesday because we were off and I could do the live chat. But other than that, day to day, I wake up and I see what time I have to be at the rink and which rink I have to be at or which airport. Girard and Letang have played much better over the last 3 to 4. Girard is figuring it out. Letang is figuring him out. And they've started to move the puck significantly better. Is Girard an offensive defenseman? I don't think so. I understand what you're saying, Rodan. That, you trade away Brett Kulak and you're expecting sort of an offensive defenseman, sort of a mini Chris Letang, right? I certainly never said you'd love his game. I was a little bit tepid on the trade. But what he is kind of an all-round guy. He moves the puck. He'll step into the offensive zone and distribute. He's not a guy that's going to win a lot of net front battles, and he can be prone to losing puck battles in the defensive zone. He's also prone to turnovers. It just, at this point, it is. I think he and Letang have actually figured things out. If this is the best we're going to see from those two, it's an acceptable level. They can't regress, or it goes to unacceptable pretty quickly. I don't know that they have another gear where they're flying and they're dominating and they're, I think they're too homogenous. I really do. I think they'd be better off apart. But Letang isn't as good with Shea. So you kind of have this, this whole thing where it's you don't really have great choices, and Dan Muse has done his best to create, a balanced blue line. Paul says, love me some Tommy. He'll be back. All right. Tommy, can you hear me? Tarantula says, you're a beast, dude, a true road warrior. I really appreciate your coverage. I appreciate you noticing, Tarantula. Yeah, I've done some unique post games this year, haven't I? From the back of an Uber on the way to the Denver airport. I didn't have time honest to God, this was the year I was going to go exploring the Denver airport. I want to find like all of these little hidden clues to the apocalypse and all the conspiracy theories that there's actually an underground train running from the Denver airport to the supposedly, secret Rockies command center where the government's going to hide in the event of nuclear war and the end of the world and all that, and the Freemasons have hidden symbols in there. Oh, if you don't know the Denver airport conspiracy theories, some of them are wild, but they're also like there's some plausibility and there's actually some evidence of them. Like, why in the hell did they build an airport so far away from the city? Like, it's worse than Pittsburgh. At least Dallas-Fort Worth, there's a reason that the airport is so far away from downtown Dallas because there's just one giant sprawling city that goes on for 50 miles. So you put the airport where you can to accommodate both cities. Denver isn't accommodating a second city. It's just out there. But yeah, so I did one in the back of an Uber from a parking lot with the police not far behind me there in New Jersey. Could you see the red and white or the red and blue flashing lights off in the distance there at the other end of the parking lot? I thought about doing it. I thought about doing the post game on the train, but I couldn't find an empty train car, or at least one that was not overly populated. Let's see here. Let's go to Chris Stone. I'm sure that way will never happen. that there is a fully healthy roster, but what will you do with glue once Lizotte comes back? You are not leaving him out. Everything else seems set, but Novak. Will Rockstar says, crushing it, Dan, just stepped in at 15:05. These guys are playing for each other, and there's nothing more potent. Gable Fisk, teams always are either blessed or cursed, and this team seems blessed. I'm enjoying this ride for as long as it goes. Rationality be damned. And that is the best fan attitude that I could possibly advocate. Sometimes guys like me are just superfluous noise. Yeah, I'm going to keep analyzing it day in, day out for those of you who want it, but I think at some point I'm going to advise everyone to turn me off, tune me out for a minute. And when the Penguins clinch, I'm going to write some big glowing stories about different aspects. I've already started working on a couple of them, including with Glue Guy. And just sort of enjoy. There's plenty of time to be depressed when they don't win the Stanley Cup, and they won't. I'm pretty confident in saying they're not one of the 5 best teams in the NHL. But it certainly will be. It'll be fun for me as well to see how far they can take this. An Eastern Conference appearance is not out of the question, Gable Fisk. And once you get to the Eastern Conference final, let's just say they draw Buffalo. Can they beat Buffalo? Yep. Wouldn't that be something? They could not be one of the 5 best teams in hockey and still be standing there. What network would have the ABC, I suppose, and still be there prime time in June playing for a big silver chalice? Oh, Marissa, thank you so much. Marissa made a $5 euro contribution. I appreciate you greatly. Why Skinner over Silovs, despite 2 different games, up and down, both goalies? Where is the biggest difference? You said Stu is number 1. Why? Because of 2 finale. I don't understand that because of 2 finale. Why? Okay, what's the difference between Stu Skinner and Silovs? Let's get into that, shall we? I guess that's if you want me to talk about your topic for an extended amount of time, kick in $5 if you could. I will be asking you all for some help with the playoff travel. It certainly was not part of the 2025-26 PHN budget. And I have actually the last few trips that's been entirely out of my own pocket. So very shortly, I will ask you all for some help. If you can, great. But anyway, what's the difference between Silovs and Skinner? I am not a goalie expert. A goalie coach, if we brought Andy Chiodo on, he might give an entirely different answer. There is a calm. There's a placid exhale. Everything is going to be okay. Relax. With Stuart Skinner, there is a personality connect with Stuart Skinner, but those things are intangible, right? Tangibly speaking, Skinner plays like a big goalie. Skinner makes a lot of really tough saves. I think he and Silovs are probably similar in terms of, on any given night, you might see them stop 37 of 40, and one of those 40 is a bad goal. It's not like either one of them are clear-cut, superior number 1 goalies in the NHL who are going to make $10 million next year. That's not going to happen for either of them. There's just a greater confidence in Skinner. The glove hand, the pad saves, without the rebounds. I think that might be the biggest difference, Marissa, is the rebound control. Skinner, generally speaking, I mean, everyone has a bad game, is much better at controlling the rebounds than is Silovs, especially with the Penguins' defensemen. You need to control those rebounds. You start spraying pucks, it's going to be a bad time because the Penguins' defense, Wotherspoon and Shea and Clifton will be by the net, but Carlson and Letang, not necessarily. So Silovs was not very good against the Islanders. He was shaky. Had the Islanders continued pressing, or had the Penguins not blunted the Islanders' attack, took the puck from them, and then just, blew them out of the water, had the Penguins not been able to do that, convert their chances like they did, and had to rely on Silovs in that game, it goes, I think, entirely a different direction. Silovs' worst quality is his rebound control. So that's where I'm going to come down on it for right now. Again, like I said earlier, though, Silovs being 24, there's still going to be growth there. This is his first full season in the NHL, don't forget. Let's go to Gaming Oddity. Gaming, it's been a while. I just tuned in, not sure if it's been asked yet, should the Pens re-sign Mantha? I love his game, and he seems to fit very well in the Dan Muse system. I don't think there's a system there for Anthony Mantha. I think Mantha is just playing really well. Should the Penguins try to re-sign him? Try? Sure. Why not? A 30-goal scorer is going to command money and term. If Anthony Mantha believes that there's something special about the Pittsburgh situation that's brought out the best in him that he can't get anywhere else, then he has incentive to maybe take a little bit of a discount to stick around. Discount double check, If he believes that he's playing really well and he could do this on most teams, or at least a team of his choosing, he has no reason. If the Penguins are ever going to truly get into this rebuild, they have to start turning a few pages. And I would suspect at 31 years old, or did he just turn 32, or he's about to turn 32? Mantha's going to want a 5-6-year deal. A 30-goal scorer is going to command at least $6 million. So, are you going to give Anthony Mantha $36 million right now? Does that fit in the Penguins' arc? That's a tough call. It really, it's not as cut and dried. When I frame it that way, the answer is an easy no. Maybe actually with the rising salary cap, Mantha's probably a 6-year, $48 million guy. I probably would say no. But if Dubas makes a run at him and puts $40 million on the table, I certainly wouldn't criticize it too heavily. That's for sure. I hate to give you a wishy-washy answer, but I don't think we are at the end of the line yet in terms of making these decisions. I think there's still more to find out. What happens if Mantha blows up in the playoffs? And I mean, in a 6-game round 1 series, big man has 13, 14 points. The value keeps going up too, right? What happens if in that same 6-game series, he has one secondary assist? Price comes down. And maybe you don't need him. There's a few more twists in this here little story. I'm going to actually skip over the Stuart Skinner and Silovs. I feel like I have talked about those guys enough on this. Nas 26 says Dubas has around $50 million in cap space next season. Offer Mantha 3 years, $4 million per. If he rejects, then find someone else. Let him go. Boy, $4 million, way under Mantha's market. You wouldn't offer that unless Mantha said, no, just give me any offer. Then maybe you say 3 years, $12 million, but that would almost be kind of insulting. Let's go to Wolf here. Hey, Dan, when Lizotte is... well, we're getting all kinds of Soderblom questions here. Icon says Skinner's the kind of goalie that calms a team down. Silovs and Jari previously will have you kind of worried. Let's see here. Pogue says, yeah, Soderblom and Kindle seem like they could be interesting. Okay. Nas here. Here's a... Crosby has 355 more points than Malkin. Didn't realize the gap was that big. There's also a pretty big gap in terms of games played, too. Steven Nash says, how good can Chinakhov and Crosby be on a line together? Oh, I love this. Took us 51 minutes and 16 seconds to get here, but yeah. With the way Crosby controls the puck down low, and the way Chinakhov can finish, with the way Chinakhov can skate, that opens up so many possibilities for a Crosby line. I mean, think about this. With Crosby doing his thing down in the corners, down below the dots, below the goal line, controlling the puck, finding open man, but also getting it to the net, Chinakhov's going to have opportunities there. Chinakhov's speed, I don't know that he gets enough recognition for just how darn fast he is. I mean, it's lightning. What he does then is opens up the rush game for Crosby. Get Crosby on the rush, get the opposing team a little bit scrambled. Now, how much more dangerous do Crosby and Chinakhov become? I mean, you almost don't need Ricard Raquel on that line. You almost don't need Brian Rust on that line because those two, I think there's a little magic to be had there. I understand being older. I'll take your word for it. Let's see here. You guys are cross-talking. Let's go to somebody new. CZ Elite. It's interesting to me that the Penguins have a depth predicament here. Lizotte gets healthy. Who comes out subsequently? Do you even want Soderblom out if he keeps playing the way he is? You guys are hung up on this Soderblom stuff, aren't you? Can they clinch a playoff spot with a win against Tampa? BW. What, you're kidding me, right? No, not even close, unless it's a 10-point game. They can't. Their magic number is 11 officially, 10 kind of unofficially, which, that's between the Penguins and Ottawa. So the Penguins and Ottawa have to combine, or the Penguins and Detroit have to combine for 11 points. Penguins winning 11 points, Ottawa losing 11 points. So that's 3 wins and 3 losses for each, or 4 wins and 2 losses. You can figure it out from there. Any chance Toronto interviews Jason Spezza for the vacant GM position? I would say no. Spezza isn't there yet. Sure, they could. And sometimes when teams cast a wide net, they will kind of give courtesy interviews. And a guy like Spezza would be the prime candidate for a courtesy interview. And what a courtesy interview is, so the guy has been through the process before. You come in, you grill him, you go through all of the motions. And hey, sometimes people surprise you. And you're like, oh. And you find a position other than the top dog for them. But I don't think Spezza really needs that. I think he's pretty comfortable. He's pretty well situated with the Penguins. And he's only been a front office guy now, 3 years. That seems a quick leap to GM of the most pressure-packed franchise, the most bureaucratic franchise in the NHL, most valuable franchise in the NHL. But could he interview? Yes. Would he be a serious candidate? I really, I don't think so. Let's see here. I am getting close to the 1 hour. I want to stop and get this darned article written. Let's go to Michael Thompson here. Hey, Dan, how are you? Can we expect Lizotte back for the Caps game? Listen, until Blake Lizotte is on the ice, you go through the process, right? He's been out for a few weeks. He would be on the ice in a non-contact first. And then he would be on the ice in full contact. And then he returns. We haven't even started that process yet. Elite says, Dan, thoughts on this? At this exact moment in time, I would prefer to have Brett Kulak, even on an expiring contract, versus the current performance of Girard. What say you? Yes, but I'm this is now over 3 weeks of sort of talking about it. I feel like I've said everything I possibly can say about that. Was it me or did Raquel call Soderblom General Sherman in the post-game video on Monday? Is that actually his nickname? What's the story? Did he call him General Sherman? No. I have to go see this now myself. If he did, I didn't catch it. In fact, I wasn't even talking to Raquel. Well, I did come over later and talk to Raquel after the Islanders win, but I wasn't there in the beginning. I was over talking. Who was I talking to? I'm trying to think of who I was talking to Monday night after the game. I don't remember. Honest to God, I don't. This is what happens. You get a little bit jelly-brained because I actually cut short my report card writing to go catch the last train out of Elmont to get to Penn Station. And there was a 7-minute gap. By the way, so I start working at 6 a.m. Monday morning. Okay. I get the Dan's Daily done. I get the pregame story written and published. I go over to Grand Central Station. I catch the train, 1 train an hour. So I get out to Elmont at let's call it 11 a.m. Cover the morning skate. Now I've checked out of my hotel because I'm leaving that night to get back for the game. So now I'm in Elmont. It's 12:30, 1 o'clock. There's no trains running from Elmont back to the city for the rest of the afternoon. So I have to Uber here, get a train into the city. Now it's 2:30. I have 2 hours to kill. I didn't want to walk around Elmont because there's nothing. It's just a giant empty racetrack. There's nowhere to go, nothing to do. There's nowhere to sit, nowhere to kill time. So I'm in New York City. I go up to the park. I get some pizza, Little Italy pizza, and train back. Takes 90 minutes once again to get back to Elmont. So there I am, cover the game, blah blah blah. After the game, run for the last train. Get to Penn Station. Got 7 minutes to figure out how to get over to the New Jersey line. Get to my car. What was it? 12:30. I'm doing the post-game video in the parking lot. 6 a.m. to 12:30. Now I drive. I made it to as far as Mifflinburg before I was like, okay, you start smacking yourself. Stay awake. I actually didn't plan to sleep so long. I took almost a 2 full hour nap there in Mifflinburg. Drive the rest of the way home. At which point, what do? I write the Dan's Daily. And then I write the pregame. Then I take another, couple hour nap. Guess what time it is? Time to go to the arena again. So I have no idea who the hell I talked to. None whatsoever. Let's see. Let me go to Ingus. Hey, Dan. Should we bring Murashov up from the AHL now, once we most likely make the playoffs? Is Stewie now the clear number one goalie? What if we need Silovs, but he is cold? Well, no, you don't bring up Murashov at this point. You want Murashov to have an extended playoff run for the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. You want to see him playing these pressure-packed games. You want to see if he's a big game goalie. Listen, I know there's a strain of thought out there that's like, put Murashov in now. That's not going to happen. Don't forget, Murashov has a sub 900 save percentage in the NHL this year. It's not like in those handful of games he posted a 920 save percentage and stole a few games. There's going to be a process there by which he has to learn the NHL game and get really acclimated. That happens next year in training camp, in preseason, October, November. That's when all of that happens. Doesn't happen. You don't dunk him into the deepest water right now. Yes, Stu is the number one goalie. Look, there are still a couple sets of back-to-back games the Penguins have, Florida and Washington, so Silovs will play at least 2 of the last 7 games, so he won't be too terribly cold if or when he is needed. Adster says, thanks for the chat, Dan. How do the Penguins fare against Columbus or the Islanders in a 7-game series? The Islanders, I don't know. The Penguins should have beaten the Islanders in just about every damned playoff series they have ever played. 1975, they're up 3-0 on the Islanders, but there's some sort of circus or thing at the arena, so they take 3 days between games 3 and 4. The Islanders regroup, second team in history to come back from a 3-0 deficit. Penguins lose. David Volek. 2019. 2021. The Penguins beat the Islanders pillar to post, and yet the Islanders win that series. I don't know. The hockey gods just seem to let the Islanders or help the Islanders beat the Penguins in the playoffs. So, having said all of that, and having to reference my worst sports memory, David Volek, not 1975, I do think the Penguins are a better team than the Islanders, but the Islanders have Sorokin. He goes on a heater, Islanders win. That's a toss-up sort of series. I think the Penguins beat Columbus in 5 or 6 games. The Islanders, I have no idea. Honest to God, I have no idea. Icon says they've only played about 1 million games in March. How can Skinner not know what day it is? He probably doesn't know whether to cry or wind his watch. I joked. I circled around the media scrum and I said, "Don't feel bad. I don't know what day it is either." He's like, "Yeah, this schedule, it's either game day or it's not game day," and that really is true. BW says, I think Chinakhov could be a 40-plus goal scorer if on the top line and power play. Yeah, his power play usage has been a little bit suspect, hasn't it? But, I mean, you're going to take Anthony Mantha off the power play for Chinakhov? I understand what they're doing. It's not a bad choice, But yes, when Chinakhov becomes a focal point of the team, playing with Crosby or Kindle, I think Kindle's going to keep getting better and better, better. Boy, how was Ben Kindle Tuesday against Detroit? He elevated his game against the Islanders as the game went on. That fourth goal against Detroit, I don't know if the television showed you just how decisive and fast Ben Kindle was on that play. The Islanders had the puck and nobody around, but before the Islanders could control it, and I don't know who was on the wall there, before they could pick their head up and make an outlet pass, Ben Kindle sprinted full on, full speed, a good 30 feet to deny the breakout pass, to deny the possession, to create a loose puck. It was, Kindle set up that goal. Didn't even get an assist, which was kind of, I guess that was Brazeau's tip, right? Yeah, it was an impressive play. I think as Ben Kindle, I think Ben Kindle and Chinakhov could also have something good going. All right, so holy cow, look at all these questions. Will Rockstar says, I love Dan's locker room questions. They hit all the right spots for me. Well, that's what I'm trying for. Podcast Warehouse, love the content. I saw the below 2% took your April Fool's joke and took it seriously and started posting it. Oh, no, seriously? People are actually posting my April Fool's joke as a serious news? God, people are so stupid. It was pretty funny, right? Right, podcast? It was funny. Oh, no. You should have actually seen my original one. My father texted me a great April, because, I've done this. Every couple of years, I do this. The first one I did was it back like 2020? And at that point, Mario Lemieux would have been like 58 years old back in 2020. And I wrote a whole thing about Mario watching Yager still playing at 50 and saying, hey, what do I have left? And I put that in the Dan's Daily, that I saw them skating, and I talked to Jay Caulfield, and then I'm like, ha, got you, April Fools. And then a couple of years ago, I'm trying to think of one I did. But anyway, my dad had texted me one that I wrote it all out. The reason the Daily was late this morning was because I looked at it, and it was too good. It was too serious. It would have been like War of the Worlds kind of hoax, and people would have just lost their minds when they got to the end. And I was afraid people wouldn't actually get to the end, and the NHL would, because the original prank I was going to write about was that the Penguins are suing the NHL over this goaltender interference and alleging collusion. I even looked up the law under which they could sue a league for, or have the league investigated. I looked all of that up and I put it all in the story, and then I looked at it. I'm like, oh no, that's it. I could almost hear my phone ringing and Bill Daly or Gary Bettman going, "Is this Dan Kingerski?" I'm like, yeah. What the hell are you doing? So I deleted all of it, and and I went with what I did. Give Dan the Warrior helmet. It's everywhere on these weird off-brand hockey sites. It was hilarious. God almighty. Morons. Ever hear of Plato, Aristotle, Socrates? Yes, morons. Can you think of anyone in recent history that came into the league at his age and surprised the experts either for the good or bad? I think you're talking about Driz. Hey, Drizzy. I think you're talking about Ben Kindle, right? And yes, you know who did this also? Was Jordan Staal. But Jordan Staal was also the 3rd overall pick, not the 11th. Yeah, there have been a few. Oli Mata was a late first-round pick who came in and played as an 18-year-old defenseman, no less. Yeah, there've been a few, but they are certainly far between. I love the snarl Sid played with last night. He and I guess you mean me and DK, in my view, are the best in town. Starkey, Madden, and everyone else. Okay, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. I don't, as a general rule, I don't want them commenting on me unless it's a compliment, and I'm not going to I'm not going to comment on them unless it's a compliment. You all are free to like, dislike. Just look at Reddit. I have my share of detractors. What did the one guy call me? Motorcycle Frazier. I still love that. He was mad that I'm not I don't profess to be a fan, and I'm like, yeah, I can't help you there. Let's see here. Okay. Oh, I guess we're analyzing me. It's probably time to end the chat. What I like about, okay, I'm going to read this live. What I like about Dan is he can be analytical and from time to time very sarcastic. Me, sarcastic? For my money, Dan, okay, okay. Listen, I appreciate the compliments, kids. That is 1 hour and 11 minutes. I do. I love you all. I don't, listen, with the new ownership structure of this company, I no longer make any money from this stuff. I do it for you, and I hope that you know that, and I appreciate you all very much. I guess I'm off to Tampa Bay on Thursday. We'll do the post game then. I've got a weird late flight Thursday. It was really tough getting in and out of Tampa Bay. I assure you that. It was not inexpensive either. I guess the Easter sort of thing. Anyway, that's it. I'm done. Have fun.